Hi, and welcome to the first part of our series of tutorials where we are going to learn how to build apps using the Raimme platform. In this first part of our tutorial, we will just build a very simple application for handling customer data. We will create a customer object, add some fields to this object, and we will show how the Raimme platform automatically generates views for these objects to be edited, added, viewed, browsed, and deleted. So, if we want to create a new object in the Raimme platform, uh, we have a menu on the left hand side of our screen, and in this menu the first item is the data section. When we click it and uncollapse it, then we can see the data types item, and this is what we are interested in. This is where we can create new objects. Objects in the Raimme platform are called data types. This is why this menu item is called data types. So let's click it, and we can see a list of data types. We have two sections: custom data types. These are the types created by the user, and as we can see, this section is empty because this is an empty environment and we haven't created any items yet. And also below there is a section with basic types. These are types shipped with the platform. They are built in and available out of the box. So in our app we want to store information about customers, about their uh, first name, last name, birth date, some personal information, perhaps some projects that we do for these customers, perhaps also some invoices or order history. So we will start off by adding the customer object to our system. To do this, we click New Data Type, and here we have to define the data type. We have to define its name. We will just call it customer. We have to define a package, which is a kind of a namespace that will be used to classify this object in our hierarchy, and then it will be translated into Java package when this whole object is also translated into a Java object. And then we also have to fill in the label for this object. Label is the name that will be displayed for this object to the end user. This can be different from the API name, it can be the same. In our case, we will make it the same. And also plural label for the plural name when we display a list of objects. And then we have some advanced properties that we will skip for now. And we can save this object. Yeah, and it has been saved. We have a customer object here with all the properties that we have defined. And when we go to the fields section, the fields tab on top of the page, we can also see two sections: custom fields and system fields. System fields are fields provided by the platform automatically. So every time you define a new object, like we have just done, you get 4 system fields. They are the created by field, which tells when a specific record was created and by whom. Last modified by, last modified date, and created date. And then we also have the custom fields section, which is empty for now. And in this section we can add our own fields to the customer object, which is basically what we are going to do now, because we want to store some relevant information about the customer. So let's add a new field. We want to store the first name of the customer, so let's call it first name. The API name has to start with a lowercase letter because it will be translated into a Java variable, whereas the label is a human readable caption for this field, and let's call it first name. And then we have to define the data type for the field. And on the Raimme platform, there is a number of data types available, uh, which allows us to store any kind of information we want. We will discuss these data types in more detail later, but for now let's just select the text data type because first name will be a text field. We can specify a maximum length for this field. Let's say it will be 100 characters, and can decide whether this field will be displayed as a single line input field or a multiple line text area. Let's leave it as a single line. Is it required? Yes, we want to make it required. We can also specify a number of other options. We can make it unique, but this is not what we want in this case because we can have multiple customers with the same first name naturally. We can check history for this field. We can specify a default value and so on. But for now, let's just save the field as it is. Okay, this is our field. And when we go back to customer object definition and click the fields tab, we can see that the new field has been added to the object. Let's just go ahead and add 2 or 3 more fields. Let's add a last name field. It's also a text field. Let's say 200 characters, also required. And let's save it. Okay, go back to customer definition. Add a birth date field. Birth date, label date of birth, and this time it will be a date field. Let's not make it required. Let's say we allow users to enter customers without the birth date. So let's save it. Okay. Now let's add just one more field, gender. And this time we have 2 options. It can be either a male or a female. So the data type that we can use is enumeration, and we can specify 2 values, female and male. And we can validate enumeration values, and if we select this option, it means that only these 2 values will be allowed to be entered into this field, and if we uncheck this option, users will also be able to add values from outside this list, but in this case we want only these 2 values to be allowed, so we will validate the values, and let's save the field. Okay, so now we have a customer object with 4 fields: first name, last name, gender, and date of birth. So let's now open our app and see how this object looks and how it can be used. So I will click my profile, which will take me back to the app, and I can see that in the menu a new item has appeared, a customers list, and when I click it, I can see a list of customers which is empty right now, and I can add a new customer. So let's click new, and yeah, here we go. We have a form with 4 fields that we have just added, and we can add a new customer. So let's say the last name will be Smith, the first name will be Mary, it's a female, and let's select her date of birth. Let's pick any date and save the new customer. Yeah, and Mary Smith has been saved in our database. We have her first name, last name, female, and date of birth. But on top of the page we can see the ID of the new object, and it's an ugly ID. We don't want this ID to be displayed like this. We would like the first name and last name to be displayed here, and it's very easy to accomplish. Let's go back to our setup panel, open data and the data types, and open our customer type. And here we have a default field for this type. When we click edit, we can select which field will be displayed by default for all records of this type, and we can select from the fields that we have created. So we can either pick first name or last name or gender to identify the records of this type, but in our case we would like to display both first name and last name, the concatenated value of these two fields. But unfortunately there is no such option here. To accomplish this, we have to add another field which will be called full name, and it will be a formula field calculated automatically from the first name and last name. So let's do this. Let's go back to the customer definition. Let's click the Fields tab and click New Field. Let's call the new field Full Name, and the label will be just name, and the data type for this field will be formula. And when we select formula, a text box is displayed and we can input our formula here. So we will just add first name plus white space plus last name, and let's make it required. Let's save the field. Okay, and the formula field has been saved. It's displayed on the list of fields as a name field, full name, and now we can set it as the default field for the customer object. So let's go back to the customer tab, click edit, and select the default field name. Let's save the field and go back to our app. We can either go back by clicking My Profile, or we can go directly to the customer list by clicking View Records. And let's do this right now. I'm clicking View Records, and here we go. Instead of the ID field, we have the name field displayed, and first name plus last name is displayed as a single column. I will drill down to the details of this customer, and here on top of the page I can see Mary Smith is her name. I can edit her information. Let's just change the last name to Smithson and save. As you can see, the information has been updated. You can of course delete the object if you want. Let's delete, and now the customer list is empty. So this summarizes the first part of our tutorial, where we have created a very simple object. And please visit www.raimme.com for more information, tutorials and videos. And in the second part of our tutorial we will learn how to add more objects and create relationships between them.